So we already create this getFileWords method, which will read a file into a string array. We are going to create two string arrays in files in the main method and read two files. Store their words into these two arrays. One is a getDisc address, and another is second inaugural address text file. Then create two arrays. One is tokens, one is total counts, and we will calculate. It's actually a typo. It's calculate token counts. We will create a method which will go through the string array we got from getFileWords method and populating these tokens and the counts. After method execution, the tokens and their counts in the raw array should be added to the tokens and the count array. And note that tokens and counts array may already have data in them, so you cannot do a fresh overwrite. What we are going to do here is we are going to create a huge total tokens array. It's common practice to define. I think there are like several hundreds of thousands words, unique words in English. So you in practice, usually people will define an array of 1 million elements to hold different tokens. But in our case, I think 500 is enough. So let's start by creating the strings arrays first by reading into Gettysburg address first. And the next thing is the second algorithm. And now we have these two total tokens and total counts. And to call it plus I. And total tokens, as I said, we're going to create a new array of 500. In fact, we are not going to go to that much, but the easy way to calculate is only print out elements where total counts greater than 0, which means there are something for this particular token. Not total counts, that particular element. So what that means is we will go through these two array, this parallel array, element by element. If total counts I greater than 0, if this particular element has data, then we'll print it out. Okay, so we need to create an array in between, and this is the hard part. What it's going to do is creating this array, public static string void So this words from file, we should have another string words from file equals to merge array. This will be the merged array of two files, of all the words in two files, from word from file 1 and the word from file 2. All right. Then after creating this, we are going to call this calculate token counts. And we are passing in the arrays of original file, in other words, total tokens and total counts, which means we are going to change the arrays in place. Because we already create these arrays, we're going to modify things directly inside this array, right? That's why we do not need to return anything. Because once this finish, as we execute in this calculate token counts, we're modifying this total tokens and total counts to put the data inside it. So once we are back, total token and total count, we'll have the data. Okay. We also need to create. Okay, let me start by writing pseudocode. So what we're going to do is we will, for each element in row, go over tokens to find a match. If found. And this actually, when you say go over tokens, that means for each element in tokens. If find a match, then counts I will plus, right? Now, if there's no match in the end, if no match, add last one, add element to last one, empty slot in tokens, and count I. You can put the plus, or you can do equals 1. Because if there's no match, then count I will by default be 0. So either you assign this to 1 or you count plus. So as always, for I, int I equals to 0, I less than row dot length, I plus. Now, for each element in token, this is where things get interesting. For j less than tokens dot length j plus. Why do I say it's get interesting? Because how do you, if it's a match, then of course that's okay. But how do you know it's not a match? There's no match left. As you can see that this tokens array is a partially filled array. So we will always put the first element first until you are actually run into an empty one where the tokens I equals to null. So the first thing you need to check is actually if there's no match, if token I is null, right? So let's do this. And once it is null, then we need to break out. let's go back to our old friend paint again. So assuming this is the token array, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and etc. etc. Let's say we have some data here. The first one is A, then second one is B, and the C. Now, if I'm looking for D, I will check compare these two, no match. Compare these two, no match. Compare these two, no match. And if this is now, then I will place this D here, right? And once I put this D here, there's no need for me to go through the rest of the array. I can just exit. So this is what we mean here. Originally, I believe I put it this way. If find a match, then count. If it's now though, then add element to a last empty. However, there is an issue. We always, when you check with string, you always need to check now first, because equals, because you are trying, when you try to find a match, you use an equals method. If you use an equals method on a now string, you will fail. So you always need to check now. Make sure the element actually exists. If it's now, then you add elements. Then if it's not now, you can perform the matching comparison. Okay, so here we're going to do if equals to now. Else if this should be J, sorry. Row I equals tokens J. Am I matching that correctly? Yes. So and let me copy this up. Counts J. This time it should be J plus plus. And what we call the called element is actually token J counts equals to row I. So that's the calculate token count. So now let's run. And you can see, oh, okay, you can see that earth or width or malice or toward is every one of is 1. 4, all these are 3. There is 5. Oh, there's another there is to the 5. Apparently, there are some issues with this comparison. That's something that we need to check further. Why this is happening? Why there's so many there? And as we go down here, I think it looks like we are printing out total tokens and total counts, and we have been changing total tokens. So let me see why. And I think I understand why this is happening, because as you can see here, end we have 11 counts. Then again, another end, I think we animation certificate and is 9, and there's something, and here is an end 10. So it starts with the end 11, Then once you have another end, looks like instead of just saving to this end, sticking to this end, we are creating one more end. And the reason is here. Here, if it's equals, then we should do a break. Or we can have a Boolean found equals to false. If not found, and so here we will set found equals to true. All right, so let's try again. This time it looks more like it. All the way up, you can see end 11, and we don't have any end after that. A new nation conceived in liberty and dedicated. There should be an end, but this time the end goes to up here. So we are calculating a combined unique count for the tokens. So we have 14, the 13 that, 11 and, all these familiar terms, which makes perfect sense. All right, so that's how we get the token count.